don't feel like going home, but all my cash is gone. Yeah, I got nothing to do tonight.
Right now, it's time for Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home show. Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home show will explain how you can start a business, grow your business, fund your idea, or the next multi-million-dollar invention, or how to buy that piece of real estate you've always wanted. Now's your chance to hear it live, right from the serial entrepreneur. It's Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home show. Here's Tom Maoli.
Go big or go. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
And we're back. Sunday night. Go big or go home. High above the towers of Madison Square Garden. We're back. It's Tom Maoli. Go big or go home. And, you know, week after week, the show just keeps getting better. The guests are stronger and stronger. The callers and the people following the show is just amazing. And the calls I'm getting and emails during the week is just amazing. And we talk about this week after week. You know, the show is just I'm just so happy with the way things are going. You know, we've had so many amazing guests on. We have had the amazing Kreskin. We've had New York Yankees, Gary Sheffield, comedian Bobby Collins, motorcycle daredevil Trigger Gum. You know, we Arshita Furman, who holds the most Guinness Book of World Records in the World Record Book.
Andy McDonald. Hi,
Andy
Tom.
McDonald, world champion. How you doing, Jim?
Good.
Jim, we got Jim Totten here.
Hope everybody survives St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely. We have Andy McDonald, world championship skateboarder. Marty Abrams, billionaire toy maker, world renowned. Jason Pfeiffer, editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur magazine, and the list goes on and on and on. And the show just keeps getting better. It's just amazing. And the reason I go down that list is because tonight is someone who's near and dear to my heart. I mean, you know, forgot Veronica Maoli. She's near and dear to my heart. My daughter was on the show a few weeks ago, studying and majoring to be an entrepreneur. Exactly. But more importantly is for tonight's show is we have an amazing guest, Gian Paul Gonzalez. And we're going to talk about Gian Paul Gonzalez. And, you know, the purpose of this show is to teach people how to start their own business, how to become an entrepreneur, how to follow their dreams, and how to get out from behind a desk and behind a cubicle, and how do they go after what their dreams are. And, you know, Gian Paul has taken that to a whole new level. And, you know, we're going to have him on the line here shortly. But, you know, it's, you know, mentoring is not even a word that I could use when it comes to Gian Paul. Here's a man who basically gave up his entire career to mentor. I mean, here's a guy who had a potential to be an NBA star, now becomes a motivational speaker, gives up his career. We're going to talk about why, but I mean, you know, he was a motivational speaker for the New York Giants, Super Bowl, drove them to the Super Bowl championship.
Absolutely.
Right? Exactly. Unbelievable. Oakland Raiders, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. We need that right now. We need a good motivator in the FBI right now. Yeah, we got to get them back there.
Find somebody there.
Exactly. You know, I mean, on and on. Sam's Club, Yogi Berra Museum, PNC Bank. You know, by the way, a Montclair State graduate, New Jersey, Montclair State graduate. I spoke at the business school at Montclair State. You know, Rutgers football team, West Point Military Academy, which I love. I love West Point.
Right, fantastic place.
Absolutely. On and on and on. The guy is absolutely amazing, and we're going to have him on the line tonight. But, you know, during the New York Giants' 2011 Super Bowl run, much of their inspiration was attributed to Gian Paul Gonzalez. Prior to the Giants' Christmas Eve game with the New York Jets, Gonzalez delivered the now famous, and we're going to talk to him about this when he gets on the line, is the now famous all-in speech.
Right.
All in. And what does that mean? But here's a guy Here's a guy, when you talk about mentoring, right? I mean, that's kind of what I do on a weekly basis is I mentor and I teach people how to start businesses and get out and follow their dreams. And most of these guys that we've had on the show are all people that have either started with nothing, started their own businesses, or have followed their dreams. And that's what we're trying to teach. But Gian Paul Gonzalez actually took it a step further. He gave up a potential career in professional sports and started a Hope and Future Youth Center for the youth to teach them how to get to take their lives to the next level. And we have Gian Paul Gonzalez on the phone right now. Are you there, Gian Paul?
Yes, I.
How
yes,
you doing? How are you?
Hi, Gian Paul.
Doing well.
Good. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for giving us your time because it's important. Because I don't know if you heard the beginning of my opening, but I do this show week after week, and it's just I'm trying to mentor people to get out there. And how do you start your own business? How do you follow your dream? Right? How do you go after it and think big? And I said, listen, you took that to a whole new level. Right? You took that and you had a chance to play professional sports. And let's talk about that a little bit. Talk about why you talk about what chance you had. Let my listeners know what chance you had and then why you gave that up.
Well, once again, it's a pleasure, honor to be with you guys today. And I would say, it was something that started early, coming from Union City in New Jersey, and just growing up. My dad getting an opportunity to play with the Oakland Raiders out in California. So seeing that, always growing up, loving football. I wanted to be the next Dan Marino of the Miami Dolphins.
Of course.
Hispanic version, but still Dan Marino, and I had to switch sports to basketball due to some injuries. And, I really enjoyed basketball and developed, I feel it one of the main things that helped me develop a very strong work ethic because I came in later on, didn't play organized basketball till sophomore year in high school, but I really committed myself to it. Of course, starting a little bit later, a little undersized, I guess many would call it the tweener stage.
Well, I don't know, Gian Paul. Listen, I stood next to you a number of times, and I've shaken your hand. Your hand's about 3 times the size of mine, and honestly, if I were up against you on a basketball court, I'd run the other way.
Right.
I wish the D1 coaches saw it that way, but yes, I'll take that. But the only place that would accept me was Montclair State University.
Which I love, by the way. I love it. I spoke there. I spoke to the business school and all the entrepreneur school. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, awesome. And, I at first wasn't too excited about going because, when all your friends, guys on my AU team are going to Villanova or going to this school or that school on full scholarships, you feel a little slighted, and you can. I'll be honest. It was hard for me to watch the NCAA tournament this time of year. My first 2 years in school, thinking that maybe I should have been there. I'll admit a little bitterness. But then sometimes you make a determination in your mind that said, just because I didn't go Division I doesn't mean I can't practice like this.
Right.
Doesn't mean I can't put in the same effort. So started going to the gym every day at 5 a.m. Division III doesn't offer any scholarships, so would sleep in the library in between classes.
Right.
Was blessed to be a first-team All-American by the end of my senior year.
Amazing. Absolutely. We love that. Congratulations. That's fabulous.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's where I got the look. Didn't expect it. It was I was expecting just to probably have to, got my Italian passport and was expecting to go overseas, but got a look from a tryout, and before I know it, was asked to join in the NBA pre-draft workouts, and then got the call to go play in the NBA Summer League.
Wow.
So exciting. That's so exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So we're going to listen, Gian Paul, we appreciate you calling in, and we're going to take a commercial break. And when we get back, we want to talk more. But I want you to start thinking about, because obviously, you know where the questions are going. Obviously, I know you well enough. The questions are going about All In. We want to talk about All In. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're going to take a commercial break. The phone lines are open. If anyone has questions for Gian Paul, it's 800-848-9222. It's Tom Maoli, Go Big or Go Home. We'll be back.
77 WABC.
Go big or go. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
And we're back, high above the towers of Madison Square Garden. We are back with real estate, automotive, business, and finance serial entrepreneur, Mr. Go Big or Go Home himself, Mr. Tom Maoli. Tom, back to you.
Thanks, Jim. And we have special guest Gian Paul Gonzalez tonight. Gian Paul, how you doing?
Doing good.
You're back.
Right.
Good.
All right, still there.
Thanks for being patient with us. You know, I before I got off and for commercial break, we talked about, and obviously I've been in your presence, and I've seen you speak, and I've had the honor of spending time with you, and, you know, I know what All In is. And, you know, for the benefit of my listeners and my people out there, I'd love for you to talk about All In, because I have to tell you, you know, it's just an amazing story, because, you know, the feedback I get from my show is people come to me and they're like, you know, I don't know if I can do this. Can I do it? You know, there's a lot of people out there that are unsure of themselves and they don't have the confidence. And, you know, in your case, obviously you took it to the whole new level. You took it to people that don't have opportunity, right? You opened the Hope and Future Youth Center, which we're going to talk about towards the end of the show, because I really would love all my listeners to make a donation. It's an amazing thing that you're doing there. But, you know, you took it to a whole new level. You gave up an MBA career and an MBA contract to help children and kids who don't have an opportunity. And, you know, talk about All In. Where did All In come from?
You know, it's just a mentality, and it's really, as I always say, it's a lifestyle. You know, it's not a slogan. You know, for me, it's a personal way that you begin to approach everything, every opportunity you have in your life. I think too many times, you know, we play it safe in a time where, you know, excuses are safe. We love to, you know, kind of tinker around a little bit.
You know, I had New York Yankee Gary Sheffield on the show several weeks back, and we talked about this. How many people live their lives with one foot on the base and the other foot off, and they're going back and forth? Should I go or not go?
Yeah. And, you know, it's because we always think, oh, well, you know, let me just always have an exit strategy, an escape plan, you know, just in case. And I think the unfortunate fact of it is, you know, not to be cliche, but, you know, it's that Braveheart speech all over again, where,
right.
You know, he asked them, like, yeah, you can play it safe, but there's going to be a time that you look back, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but 10 years from now, you're going to say, what if?
Right.
And, you know, I know, sure, for you, because of what you've demonstrated in your lifestyle and what you've been able to accomplish is, you know, we can't live with what ifs. What ifs keep us up at night, but we can live with oh wells. We can live with knowing we gave everything possible, and you know what? If it didn't work out, you know, we lose the game. Okay, we know that one, you know, venture didn't pan out the way we thought. Okay, oh well. But we can't live with what if.
Right, and you know it's interesting because my background. I never went to college. I barely graduated high school, and I always said I never want to have regrets. I don't want to be, you know, an old man sitting in a chair and have regrets and say I should have did this and I should have tried that and why didn't I do this? I would have rather do it and maybe fail. Right? Obviously, I've been lucky. Yep. Things have worked out my way, and I've been successful. But, you know, I would have rather done it and failed than not done it at all.
Yeah. That's exactly it. You know, that's kind of where the mentality came from for myself, and just seeing it demonstrated. I mean, it really started, like I said, with my mother. I want to peel. Yeah, there you go. That's where I was going. I want you to tell the story to the listeners out there, because it's very inspirational. I have to tell you, you know, I actually talk about you more than you can imagine, because I love the story. No, I do. I love that story. It's absolutely amazing, and I want you to tell my listeners, because it's important they hear it, because when anyone out there believes that they have no hope and that they can't make it or they can't get it done, or even if they fail, they think, like, how am I going to pick up the pieces? You have to listen to Gian Paul. Yeah, you know, like I said, it really started when I was 12 years old. My mom sat me down, and I was in a place where I was, you know, not performing my best, and I definitely wanted to give up on some things in life. You know, as we can at 12 years old, we think things are crumbling, and she sat me down and told me the story of how she went to the doctors one day, and you know, it was supposed to be a routine checkucip. That's the story I want you to tell. That's the story. That should be a movie, but go ahead. Thank you. She said she was, you know, a couple of months pregnant, but upon going, things seemed fine, but the nurse and doctor walked out of the room, and the nurse simply came back with a small card in her hand, handed it to her on the table, and it simply read, "We're sorry to inform you, but you've contracted the measles." And at that time, getting the measles during that stage of pregnancy, they believe is going to have very dangerous side effects. In fact, they said that, we can't see certain limbs developing properly on the body. And on the bottom of the card, it said, it's in our opinion that you and your husband consider the option of termination. Try again later at another time for another child. And my mother said it was a very difficult 2 to 3 minutes in that room, by herself, because it was one of the visits she went to by herself. But she said, when the nurse came back in the room, she said, how would you like to proceed? We can start right away. And she simply said, I'm going to stay committed, whether he lives for 2 weeks or he lives for the next 20 years, whether he has one properly developed arm or no arms for that matter. I'm going to stick with him. Wow. And, I'm so thankful because, I was a child inside of her that day in the doctor's office.
Wow, listen, I knew the story, but it's amazing. It's unbelievable courage by your mother, and it shows you that you never give up.
Yeah, and that when you hear that at 12, it kind of puts your hopeless situation in perspective. It puts your what you thought there's no reason to continue doing something. And that's something that I've carried with me, and that's something that led to the talk with the New York Giants. A couple of years later. Is they were in a difficult situation, and I just kind of tried to encourage them with kind of that story, as well as, a couple of analogies using a poker chip of like, hey guys, I know it's 7-7 in the season. You only got 2 games left. You lost 5 of your last 6 games. But what if you give everything you have against the Jets tomorrow? Yeah, I know the Jets are supposed to be the ones with Rex Ryan and headed to the playoffs, et cetera, but what if you give everything? And it was interesting because Justin Tuck told me later on that, it started with just him and a few other guys. It didn't start with everybody all at once jumping on the ship. Mm-hmm. But he said slowly but surely guys started to, they tried to get in more snaps. They started staying later to watch film against the Cowboys the following week. And then the chefs had to stay later to, cook them a post-practice snack in the middle of the week when most guys would go home earlier. And he said it became infectious. But he said, it had to start with a couple of them taking a stand that they're going to give everything they had, whether the last game was against the Cowboys because it was on their schedule or Green Bay in the second round of the playoffs until they finally made it to the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Incredible run.
All in. Listen, that's what it's about. And that's really, honestly, that's what my show is about. It's all in because, when you're going to start a business, you're going to do something, you're going to follow your career, you're going to follow your dream. It doesn't matter what it is. There's so many people in corporate America that are sitting in cubicles. They have ideas. They want to start things. They want to go out there and do things. They don't know how to do it. They're afraid to do it. And then you have the kids that you deal with who really don't have the opportunity. And, they don't know how do you do it? They're sitting there saying, how do I do it? They're looking up to guys like you and athletes and Odell Beckham and all of these professional athletes and role models and actresses and models, and they're saying, how do I do it? And they don't know how to do it. And they don't have opportunity. They don't have any idea unless someone guides them.
Mm. You're so true. And one of the first things I always say to every kid that walks into my youth center that I get a chance to teach and be involved with is, I really try to pass on a mentality that was taught to me by my grandfather. My grandfather, unfortunately, he's a political prisoner in Havana, Cuba, when the Fidel Castro administration took over. And, one thing he always told me was to be a shark. And I didn't understand what that meant for a while in my life, but it was explained to me that a shark, it's the number one predator in all of the ocean. But the thing about a shark is that its number one weapon it loses every single day, and those are its teeth. And its teeth are not held in by bone like our teeth are, but it's held in by cartilage like our nose and ears, a soft material, which means every time a shark bites something, whether it bites the wrong thing, the right thing, its teeth fall out of its mouth. And so you would think its opportunity is lost, but a shark knows it has 5 to 7 rows of teeth in its mouth. And every time it loses a tooth, another one actually falls into place from the back row within 24 hours.
That is amazing.
That's great.
That's a great story. That is a great story. And by the way, I didn't know that, and that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, I just heard this morning about a wheat seed. When a wheat seed falls into its soil, it dies, but it goes into the soil, and then it actually comes alive again because it regenerates itself into new wheat.
Yeah. Gian Paul, this is Jim. I have a personal testimonial with you as well. I work for Tom's Celebrity Motorcar Auto Dealerships. And a couple of years ago, we did bring you into the Lexus of Route 10 store in Whippany. And I was there for the motivational speech, if you recall, you did for our salespeople and most of the staff. Yep. Oh, it was with the whole all-in and the chip. It was such a bonding and teamwork moment for the dealership that we actually went from, right, Tom, a number 10 dealership to the top producing dealership on the East Coast for
Absolutely.
Lexus.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Just to let you know, those were the results. It was incredible. So, my compliments to you.
Exactly. Gian Paul, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about how you became a part of the New York Giants and the chapel, and what your position is there, and what you do on a daily basis. And then we're gonna then roll from there. I want to talk about the youth center, because that's so important. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back. It's Go Big or Go Home. Tom Maoli. The phone lines are open. It's 800-848-9222. We'll be back in a few moments with Gian Paul Gonzalez.
77 WABC.
Go big or go. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
And we're back with Go Big or Go Home with Tom Maoli. This segment is brought to you by Celebrity Motor Car of New Jersey, the largest luxury car dealer in the Northeast, with Lexus of Route 10, BMW of Springfield, Mercedes-Benz of Goldens Bridge, Maserati of Morris County, and Alfa Romeo of Morris County. Visit CelebrityMotorCar.com for more information. Back to you, Tom.
And we're back, and we have special guest Gian Paul Gonzalez, and hopefully for the listeners out there, you've been listening to Gian Paul. Amazing, amazing story. It's just unbelievable. When you talk about motivation and hope and inspirational and giving hope, this is the guy. I mean, he's just unreal. Gian Paul, you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing? Good. So talk about how you got involved with the Giants and what you do for them today.
Yeah, crazy course of events. When I came back from turning down the contract to continue playing professional basketball, I really wanted to help kids. And I found out that I didn't know that before. I needed a teacher's certificate to start teaching in the state of New Jersey. So I went back to college to get my teacher's certificate. But in the meantime, instead of just sitting on my hands, I decided to go to the only place that would let me work with youth without a certificate, which was jail. I started going to juvenile jails throughout the state of New Jersey, tutoring students as well as trying to really help them and change their lives. And then we even started a basketball team in jail because we thought it was like a good kind of hook, if you will, to get them to behave a little bit better and so to get them on the right track. And
talk about kids that need inspiration and guidance and direction, and it's so amazing that the way our system is set up. Listen, clearly, obviously, they're in there because they did something wrong, but they throw these kids in there and they give them no guidance.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what I was trying to do is hey, if I can just give one kid a little hope and get them to get off this, cycle of going in and out, because some would be there for a month, but then they'd be out for a week and then come back. And so, crazy enough, I didn't know it, but one of the members of the Giants organization, the chaplain at the time, was paying attention to what I was doing. And he said, shortly after, I get a phone call I don't expect. And he said, hey, I've been seeing what you're doing, heard what you're doing in jail, heard really good things about it. Would you ever want to speak to the team? And I honestly thought it was a prank. I thought it was a joke. I figured I'm just a history teacher that, is trying to get a teaching job going to jails. He said, don't worry about it. I'll call you if I need you. And before I know it, I get a phone call the night before Christmas Eve that year in 2011 saying, hey, speaker canceled. Can you make it?
Wow.
I live 5 minutes from over from the stadium, from where they spend the night at the hotel before the game the next day. I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And so I love it because I love to tell the youth I work with that so many times we think our greatest opportunity is going to come on, an America's Got Talent stage. Or,
right, yeah, exactly. Right. No, absolutely, you're right.
And really, Tom, you can attest this, some of your greatest opportunities came probably on a rainy Tuesday when you stayed 5 minutes later on in the office or went to that meeting you didn't have to go to.
It's so funny you say that because it's always when you least expect it. It's always, I would go to meetings that I would fly to California and say, I really don't want to go. And then I'd get there and I'm like, oh my God, this is like unbelievable. And then, and then also I always stayed late in the office. I got in early and stayed late, and I'd stay late and you'd be sitting at your desk and you're trying to, just sometimes you need peace and quiet, and you're trying to organize, and you're trying to get your thoughts for the next day. It's almost like going into the huddle of a football game, right?
Great
You're gonna get your plans together for what the next play is going to be, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and you pick up the phone, and you're like, wow. Where did that come from?
Bingo.
That's exactly it. And so, it progressed from there. And then after they went on to win the Super Bowl, then a couple of years after, I got a phone call and it said, "Hey, we like the work you did with the team. Would you want to take over as the chaplain for the team? Travel with the team for every home and away game."
That's great.
Wow.
It did take a couple of years for that, Giancarlo?
Yeah, it took a couple of years in between, but the first year was Coughlin's last year, and then McAdoo began to enjoy it and said, so when he took over 2 years ago, he asked if I would join them, on the sidelines, be with the team in the coach's box.
Great.
And, then Coach Shermer, they've decided they want me to continue. So getting ready for another season with the team so far.
That's amazing. Listen, congratulations. That is amazing. It's funny that you say that because I talk about this all the time. People ask me, how did you get in this business? How did you get in the real estate business? How did you get in the car business? And I say, by accident. I was sitting in my office one day. I'll just tell you a quick story. I was sitting in my office one day, and I had sold my company, and I was doing real estate, and the Lehman crash happened, and I couldn't finance any real estate, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And someone came in to me and asked me if I knew anyone who was interested in buying a car dealership group.
Amazing.
And I looked up at, I almost fell off my chair, and I looked up and I said, "Yeah, me."
That's great.
Yeah, and they said, you don't know anything about it. And I said, "I know, but set me up a meeting." And here I am. Here I am later. I'm at 6 dealerships now, and it's over the moon.
All doing great.
All by accident. It's unbelievable. So anybody out there that doesn't believe they have opportunity, they're not thinking properly, and that's really what my show is about. And that's what you do every day, Gian Paul, is to get people to think properly, get these kids to think properly, because there's opportunity every day you wake up and put your feet on the ground.
No, so true, and that's what I always try to encourage them with is, like I said, I try to go back to just like you said, you always want to do this or that. I said, no, not really. I just did what was right in front of my face. The only place to open that I could work that would let me speak in front of people was going to the jail. So it's funny when I run into people like, "Hey, I want to get into motivational speaking," or "I want to do that." I'm like, "Okay, let me know when you're free. Let's go to a jail." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Nice.
You go to a captive audience, they're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
And they're willing to listen. You got to start. People think there's a fast track, to get to the top floor. I mean, it's doing what's right in front of your face and going all in, doing the best you possibly can, and then slowly but surely it begins to accumulate. And there's opportunities you don't realize. But if you're not willing to do what's right in front of your face, it's usually not going to happen too well.
Right. No, and I agree. There is no fast track. You have to go through the process. You got to take the steps, and talk about. Take a minute and just talk about. Just have there been times when you've second guessed or you sit back and you say, "What am I doing? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Am I thinking right?" Or, have you had those moments?
Yeah. I think, that's one of the biggest hurdles always to overcome is, you doubt yourself or you question different steps you may have taken. And that's why for me it's so important. And I always encourage others, it's so important that when you decide to go all in, that it needs to be rooted in something deeper than just a goal. It needs to be, for me personally, I feel it needs to be deep rooted in people. Because if it's just a winning a game or a record or, a contract or whatever it might be at the end of the day, for me personally, I feel that's a shallow goal. And there's things you might not do to get to that goal. But when you make it about people, when you make it about, a loved one, when you make it something that you can tangibly see and means something that much to you, you'll go farther and you'll do more than you ever thought possible. And in those moments when you doubt, in those moments when you're questioning, is it really worth it? I'll have one of the students that, I taught 4 years ago in my history class. He'll come into the youth center and begin to tell me that, even though his dad is a career criminal, he's just been accepted to the police academy. And,
wow, that's amazing.
Great.
That's amazing.
Because about people, it'll keep you going. But if it's just about, just a goal or, which are great things, or just a contract or a client, you might not go that extra yard. But if it's something that means that much to you, you'll find strength you never thought possible. You know, like you said, you'll be able to stay up later. You'll get on that flight that you really don't want to get on because you know what? At the end of the day, I want to give my best because it's not just for a number. It's for a father or a mother or a daughter or a brother, and they have a family. And I remember you telling me when I was at one of your dealerships that that's one of the things that gets you up in the morning. When, you know, I remember one of your family members said, you really don't have to go in today. You're doing well. You said, no, there's people at that dealership that are family.
Absolutely. Listen,
there's people telling me that, and that stuck with me.
Yeah, listen, 600-700 people every week that rely on me. Their families rely on me. They need that paycheck to feed their families and put, you know, and they rely on me. So if I fail, they fail.
Yeah. And you made it about people, and I think that's what's been able to contribute so much to your success. Is for you, it's deeper than just another profit margin. You see the direct effect you have on, you know, being able to change the course of someone's life in such an amazing way.
Absolutely. And, you know, clearly we think alike, and that's why, you know, I love what you're doing, the way you speak and the way you're motivating these youths and people and corporations. Talk about some of the corporations that you've been in front of, because it's amazing. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and I love the diversity that I've been blessed to be able to be in front of. You know, whether it's talking for the FBI about a year ago, and federal agents, and that, you know, I'll be honest, that's pretty intimidating. Mm-hmm. You know, going in a room full of guys that you only watch movies about or shows about.
You missed the beginning of the show because you weren't on yet, but I said, you know, we could probably use you there today. We need some motivation in the FBI.
You know, from there to Walmart to Verizon to now doing some work with Cadillac and different dealerships, and I thank you for that because you've kind of got me in touch with a lot of different the internal structures of some of those groups, and you know, it's so.
Listen,
great.
It's all about you know, networking and helping other people. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
and it all comes back to you.
And I love to bring the experiences back to my students as well, and you know, for me, I love the fact that I still live in Union City, where a lot of my students and those who attend my youth center are from. So it kind of, you know, it's able to bounce back when they say, oh, but you don't know where I'm from. I'm saying, I do know. I grew up here, and I'm back here. And, you know, why can't this be you? Why can't this be you in 10 years that you have a story to tell and you get to share it with the next generation that needs to hear it? So,
exactly. Amen.
Great.
Amen. Talk about the chip. What's the significance of the chip?
Love the chip.
You know, I'm a visual guy, and I find that we hear a lot of great things. You know, we hear great quotes from great authors or great leaders, but we forget it very quickly. And so for me, when I see things or I'm able to feel things, it's my type of learning style, I guess. So that night with the Giants, I just bought a pack of about 100 poker chips from Walmart, and I gave it to them and passed it out with some Sharpie markers and said, guys, if we're playing the game of poker and you push all your chips in the middle of the table, you know that feeling in your stomach waiting for those cards to turn, you know, but you're willing to go all in.
All in.
If you wouldn't do it, you know, if you wouldn't pull your chips back and say you were just joking at the table.
Listen, that's all in. When you're sitting at that poker table and you take all your money and you say, I'm in, I believe in the hand.
Right.
Yeah. And I just said, you know, if you wouldn't do it at a game, you know, down in Atlantic City or in Vegas, you know, why do we do it with our lives? Why do we try to, you know, step away from the table or, you know, just bleed chips hoping that we're going to get the perfect hand, and then before you know it, you're out of chips? What if you did that with your lives? You gave everything, even if you only got 5 minutes, you know, with your daughter tonight, or 20 minutes that you're going to be able to do a little tryout. What if you gave everything you had with every snap tomorrow morning, or even just as a father or, you know, as a brother, just give it your best, give it your all. You know, and so I had them sign the chips, and some guys put it in their locker. Some guys said, I'm all in for football, but, you know, I want this in the middle of my kitchen table because I want to be more committed for my family. One of the guys, Antrell Roll, sent me a Twitter message. He got the words all in tattooed on his chest.
Oh,
wow.
That's great.
That's amazing.
That's great.
That's amazing. I love that. Love that. And by the way, I have the chip on my desk. I still have it there.
He does.
I look at it in the morning. I think about you all the time. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. The phone lines are open. 800-848-9222. Gian Paul Gonzalez. When we get back, Gian Paul, I want to talk about the Youth Center. I want people sending donations in. I want to talk about the Youth Center. We'll be right back.
77 WABC.
Go big or go. Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
We're back. We're back with real estate, automotive, business, and finance serial entrepreneur, Mr. Go Big or Go Home himself, Mr. Tom Maoli. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Jim. And we have special guest Gian Paul Gonzalez. John, are you there?
Yep.
Yep. I want you to take a minute and for all the listeners, and I want you to talk about the youth center, the Hope and Youth Center that you've established in Union City, what it's about, what the goals are. It's amazing what you've done there and what you're accomplishing. Give us a little overview.
Yeah, being a teacher, I just really started to see that Union City is actually, I didn't know it, but as I did my research, finishing my master's degree, I found out that it's the most densely populated city in all the United States.
Really?
90,000 people in 1 square mile, but unfortunately there's no YMCA, there's no Boys and Girls Club.
Jeez.
And so 300 kids try out for the basketball team, but unfortunately you can only take about 30 kids between the JV varsity levels, which means you have 270 kids that, they just want to be part of a team, but to be honest, they just want to be part of a family. And so I began to see that they would try to join families, whether it's getting involved in gang activities or things on the street corners. And so I said, there needs to be a way to do this, and even though people, the feeling when they call you crazy or why are you trying to do something, you're not a executive director, nonprofit expert, you're just a teacher, a basketball player. I said, I got to give this a shot because I'm tired of seeing my students ending up, unfortunately, in the juvenile detention center. In the wrong place.
All in. You went all in.
All
You followed your own motto. What you teach. Listen, if you can teach it all day long and you can preach it all day long, but you got to practice it.
Exactly. And so, I just said, hey, let's find a location, and we're able to find one. It was, an older building that wasn't in use for the past 5 years, and was able to negotiate a lease and said, hey, just give us a shot for 1 year. Let us just try to open this up every day, free of charge. Any kid from 12 all the way to 21, open 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Let's offer programs, give tutoring help.
That's
They
great.
can play basketball, lift some weights, whatever it is, just let's give them a safe place to go to. So, when I talked to them in the jail, unfortunately, they had an option. They might have made the wrong decision, but at least they can't say, hey, there's no place I could have gone, Mr. Gonzalez. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now I can say, hey, listen, there is an option, and you chose that, kind of thing. Let's just be honest with each other. And so we opened the doors, and the first day, it was discouraging. I'll be honest. The first day, only 5 kids showed up.
Right.
And that was 18 months ago. And amazingly, last week we signed up student 1,075.
Whoa. Holy cow. That is great.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That is clearly amazing
Good
success
for you.
stories.
Good for you, Jean.
That's great.
And like I said, the greatest thing I love seeing is, I told my history students 6 to 7 years ago, hey, I'm going to build a place for you guys to go to. And so the greatest feeling in the world is seeing them come back and walk in the center, with the, sometimes with the little daughter, holding her or coming back from college. And they're like, Mr. G, I'll be honest, when you said you were going to build a center for this city, I thought you were full of BS. But you know what? The fact that I'm standing in it right now, like it's amazing feeling because they can actually, we don't just talk about history in history class, they see it being made.
Right.
And they realize
That's
they can
exactly
make it
it.
as well.
And listen, now that you've done it, now they believe in you, and now the sky's the limit. Now you can keep going. You can grow. You can get more buildings. You can get more kids involved. Before you know it, it'll be 5,000 students.
Right.
Where could our listeners donate? Because clearly, it's a great cause. Everyone out there should consider it. We're helping kids get off the streets and get them to where they need to be in their life. And that's what my show is about, is getting people to where they need to be. Where would they send donations to, Gian Paul?
They can go to my personal site, which is JianPaulGonzalez.com, GIANPAUL Gonzalez.com, or we have its own site, which is hope-future.us. And either of those places, they can find out more information about donations, or if they want to even stop by themselves and check it out, we'd love for them to come by, take a tour. We're actually going to have an open house this Friday from 12 to 2. So if anyone's just on their lunch break, wants to stop in, we're right outside of New York City, right outside the Lincoln Tunnel. We'd love to have, and anyone wants to bring their sneakers and come play basketball with some of the kids.
Well, I'm in for that one. I got an amazing hook shot. Gian Paul, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you spending the time to be on the show tonight. I love you. Thank you. It's been an honor. We're going to have to end it because we're coming. Our time is coming up. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tom. I was going to say, we're going to put those websites up on tommaoli.net
We will
as
do
well.
that. We want everybody to send a donation in.
Okay?
I'll be in tomorrow into the website making a donation. Jean Paul, thank you very much.
Jean-Paul.
Hope to talk to you soon. I'm going to end the show with, and I'll leave you with the same thing I leave you with every week, week after week. Go with your gut. Take the leap of faith that tells you your gut is 1,000% right when everyone else is telling you you're crazy. It won't hurt. It won't work. You can't hit the ball unless you swing the bat. And always remember, winners never quit. Quitters never win. It's Tom Maoli. Go big or go home. We'll see you next Sunday night. Thank you.